So I'd like to invite our first speaker to the stage. Please welcome Mr. Ivan Yordanov.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let me see if I'm in the right place, first of all. Raise your hand if you have already a website or you are planning to have a website. Great, I'm in the right place. Raise your hand again if you ever worried about the security of the data of your business or your family. And all we do. And today, we'll be talking about the security of the data. Today, we'll be talking about the security of the family, how to protect and how to recover if we're hit by the attacks of the insidious, the hackers. So the subject today will be cybersecurity and GDPR. Raise your hand if you know what GDPR is. Excellent. So I've got a couple of people here who know more about this. There will be very technical conversation today because you have people who already run online businesses. So it's not a generic presentation. So be prepared. There will be lots of valuable content. And I will give you some handouts towards the end for practical ways of protecting your business and being compliant with the GDPR. I hope that will be helpful today. But it is danger from everywhere. So you might be here because you want to build your business. You might be here because you wanna run online business on your own or within your company. You might be here because you wanna build some millions, or you wanna travel the world, or if you wanna live without doing any work. Well, I cannot promise none of it. But what I can promise to keep it all. And when did it stick to my head? It was some time ago when I was watching an interview with Sir Elton John. And this interview just concluded, and the journalist goes towards the end. Sir Elton John, can you give an advice to the young people who are watching the program? And he says, yeah, I will give an advice to the young people. And I'll tell you something. It is difficult to get to the top of the charts, but it is more difficult to stay on the top of the charts all the time. And it is exactly the same with a business. So it is difficult to build a business, but it is even more difficult to keep it. And today, I'm here to help you to protect the assets, the digital assets, what you've got for your business, because they could be destroyed in seconds. They could be destroyed by hackers, they could be destroyed by employees, and they could be destroyed even by the government, because if you don't comply with the government legislation, it could go really, really wrong. So according to the police, we've got 2 million cybercrimes last year, and fraud and cybercrime cost UK nearly £29 billion in 2016. 82% of the businesses do not report cybercrime. Why they don't report cybercrime? They don't even realize that they've been attacked and the data has been stolen. Any other ideas? Why they don't report? They don't want to scare the customers away. Any other ideas? Bad publicity and bad reputation. So being part of the cybercrime, it is really dangerous for reputation, it is really dangerous for the business, and it is really dangerous from a legal point of view. So many people think that the hackers, they're people, sad people like me, sitting in a back room and doing nothing in the middle of the night and only do all sorts of damage. In fact, they're very nice people. And they're also having fun here and there. Very often they've got unlimited funds because they generate income very, very, very quickly. So we don't want to really fulfill their dreams. We want to run our own businesses. So I've done a little bit of a screenshot here from the internet, and I'm showing how much does it cost to employ an attacker. So it says here £1,533 to teach you how to do DDoS attack, to teach you how to attack somebody else's site. So it doesn't cost too much to learn it, and also doesn't cost too much also to employ these kind of people. Some of them are really, really nasty. And here is one of them. So I will read a little bit for you. I will do anything for money. If you want me to destroy some businesses or person's life, I'll do it. Some examples. Simply hacking, sometimes technically. Causing a lot of technical trouble on websites, networks, or disturb their service with DDoS and other methods. Economic espionage, getting private information from someone, ruining your opponent's business or private persons you don't like. I can ruin them financially, and I can get them arrested wherever you like. If you want someone to get known as a child porn user, no problem. And this is for the simple figure of 200 euros. Simple job. Well, this is a screenshot from the past. And actually, this is on a darknet. This screenshot is from the dark. But there are people out there who are ready to be employed to do damage. And we have to be aware that also we could be the victim of their attacks. I don't advise you to employ any of them, though. Does anyone know what is this? No? This is a real-time recording of cyber attacks. In average, there are about 6 cyber attacks per second happening in the world out there. And this is what's happening there. You can see how they attack all of a sudden. This is called a DDoS attack. Do you know what is DDoS attack? A couple of people have explained. What DDoS attack is, computers send so many signals to a particular server, they overwhelm the server with this signal, and the server goes down. Effectively, your website goes down. So you want to make sure that your website and your digital assets are protected from DDoS attacks. DDoS stands for denial of service. I will extend later on a little bit on this, and I will give you some examples how you can protect yourselves. Currently, it's practically impossible to protect 100%, but there are pretty good steps you can take towards it to protect yourself this DDoS attack. So you just notice that they kind of fired the attack from different computers. How does it happen? How do they own so many computers around the world, these hackers? Any ideas? Malware. So what happens with the malware? That's right. That's right. So while we're browsing the internet, thank you very much. While we're browsing the internet and while we're opening different emails, there are small pieces of malware getting inside our computers. And we do not notice this. And these people, they've got control over every single computer of us. And they call us zombies. So these pieces of software, they are sitting inside our computers. And when they are called upon by a signal, they do total attack. So we become part of this criminal life without us knowing that we're doing this. So now you know about this. How do we protect ourselves from this? Any ideas? That's right. We use malware program, and we run it on a regular basis. There are a number of programs for malware bytes, spybot, and so on and so forth. So run malware programs on a regular basis, even if it looks like that your computers, they're running perfectly good, because you don't want to be one of these zombies. So in the second part of the presentation, we'll be talking about the GDPR. This is the General Data Protection Regulation. It is a glamorous version of the Data Protection Act that exists at the moment. It is being upgraded by the European legislation, and it is being adopted by the UK. Many people ask the question, what will happen after Brexit? The answer is GDPR is here to stay. And every single one of us who run a business and every single one of us who run a website must comply with the GDPR regulations. It comes on 25th of May, and our advice is to start preparing as of today. I will give you practical advice today towards the end, and whatever I show you today, I haven't shown this because this is know-how. This is my consultancy, but to you today, you will receive this, and it costs thousands of pounds. So please be prepared for valuable information today. So what the GDPR is, it is you need to prepare for the general protection, data protection regulation. I can tell you that it is expected the Information Commissioner Officer to do a number of announcements. One in January, one in March, and one towards May. And there are more and more companies that require these services. So you start preparing, the earlier the better. There are 12 steps, which I will highlight later on what to do. And the deadline is the 25th of May, 2019. There are a number of steps which I will take you through at a later stage. And I will explain what do you need to do exactly in terms of theory, and what do you need to do in terms of practice to prepare yourself for GDPR. But generally speaking, the first step is to build the awareness. It is to build the awareness for yourselves and to build the awareness for your staff. Raise your hand if you have staff in your business. Okay, so we got about half of the people. So this step, it means that you have to know about this and they have to know about this too. Therefore, I produce a number of similar lectures, but they are adjusted to the staff. And if you need any of this help, I'll be here to help you. So the second step, it is the information you hold. You must know what kind of information do you hold. What is yours, what is your client's, and so on and so forth. So the next step, it is the individual rights. So you have to know who is owning what and what they can do with this particular information. And all this should be recorded within rules and policies and procedures internally. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand if you have the policies and procedures, but usually not too many people have all this written. Now with the GDPR, you will need to have these policies and procedures written, and they must be valid. And towards the end of the presentation, I will help you with this as well. So the next one, the subject access rights. So you will need to review on a regular basis what's happening with the data, but also you have to give to the clients something which is called subject to be forgotten, right to be forgotten. And the right to be forgotten means that if they require you to remove their data from your database, you must remove it. And what happened is historically, one of the reasons why in the past, some kind of young people or teenagers, they go and they take photo here and there, and then they publish it on the internet. And some other parties, they don't want these photos published on the internet. They find it very difficult to remove it. Now, if you're contacted by anyone to remove their photo, their data, their email address, or anything else, you must remove it immediately, and you must inform them. And there should be also a policy or procedure how you follow this. The next one is is the consent. How many of you run email shots and email marketing? How many of you are planning to run email shots and email marketing? You must be familiar with consent, and the consent must be explicit. The consent must not be by default. At the moment, we get somebody's business card, and we assume that we can start sending them emails. And this is about to change. So in the future, working with emails will be really, really legislated. And you have to be really careful. And you shouldn't be going the other side. Last month, a company found all of their contacts from their database, asked them to give consent. And they were reported to the Information Commissioner Officer, and the Information Commissioner Officer put a fine on this company because they've been phoning to all these people. So we're kind of in a no-win situation here. You have to be extremely, extremely careful when it comes to consent. It must be explicit. They must allow you to use their data, and I will give you some best practices, and I will give you some typical mistakes what you might do on your website by accident. Is this so far any good to you? Is this valuable? Good. It's not very exciting subject, but it's we have to address this because it's the law. Please. Yep.
Sorry, just for the benefit of the video, so if when we speak, and this is for everyone's benefits, is it just becomes dead air if we don't use a microphone when we watch it back on the video, so just run the microphone. Who was speaking? Sorry, excuse me, sorry, Jude.
Regarding unsubscribing
Yep.
from a post. So after May, if I unsubscribe and say I want to unsubscribe from all your emails and all your newsletters, etc., that company then will have to not only unsubscribe me but also delete my information? Or is that something that's another layer that will have to be added on by people, looking for customers? They've got to ask you, do you want my emails, but actually do you want to be part of my database?
Yes. So there are two steps here. If they want you to be removed from the database, you must remove them from the database. But if they say, we want you to erase all the data, then you must erase all the data and inform them that you erased all the data. And I will take the questions towards the end. There is a question and answer session. But in the meantime, if it's something really, really urgent you want to ask, by any means, please ask. So just to extend a little bit more on this question, so the right to be forgotten also goes for employees. Yes, because on one hand, you must keep their data. On the other hand, the employees might require this data to be deleted. So you might get in a situation where it's a bit of a contradictory, because you might end up keeping the data or not keeping the data. And we can discuss this, how can we address this as well. Okay, so number 8 is the children. So when the websites have information and people register for information, the parents' consent must be addressed in terms of their children. And this is also getting very strong at the moment. So the next one is the data breaches. So as soon as there is a data breach to your data, you must report to the Information Commissioner Officer within 72 hours. Within 72 hours. Failing doing this, it's a minimum fine of £10,000 that could grow even further, and they're huge fines. Why they created it huge fines? Because they say we'll create a fine so big so nobody will take an option to say, I'll just pay the fine. So paying the fine is not an option at the moment. It's huge. It's within millions. Oops. Did I miss number 10? Data protection by design and data protection impact assessments. So this is where all of you must really pay the biggest attention. Your websites you are building at the moment, they must be protected by design. And I've got 120 slides in a minute to show you how to protect your data by design. And hopefully that will help you a little bit to protect your data, because I'm so passionate about it. The next one is data protection officers. Do we have here businesses with more than 50 people staff? None. We've got one business that is more than 50 people staff. If you have more than 50 people staff, you must have a data protection officer. It's a designated person within the business who is dealing with the data, and this person will be the go-to person when anything happens with your data. And all employees must know who is the data protection officer. And this data protection officer must communicate to the Information Commissioner's office that you've got some data loss. And unfortunately, you might probably be fined for that particular reason. But if you don't report it, you'll be fined even more. But there is a get out of jail card here for this, which I will keep you towards the end if you ask me nicely. Number 12, international. All we trade here internationally on the internet. That's where we built our businesses on the internet. I also have a number of websites. I've been through Simon's courses, and I run my own business internationally. In fact, I've got clients on 4 continents. So do you already sell internationally? I've got about half of the people already sell internationally. What will happen? You must speak to your counterparts regarding GDPR, and I'll extend a little bit more in a minute, but they're also involved. So anyone who is within the European Union must comply with the GDPR, and you must be very careful about your suppliers and about your clients in terms of GDPR outside the country. If you want to, towards the end of this presentation, I will give you handouts, and you will be able to book a meeting with me, and I will be able to expand more on this and help to your business to be compliant with the GDPR. So this is, in a nutshell, GDPR. We'll go now deeper into this. Unfortunately, there are some fines. And the fines were announced like the penalty is 4% of the annual global revenue, or 20 million euros, whichever is greater. I personally cannot pay today 20 million euros because I don't have them in cash. And I don't really want to get into this trouble. I don't know how they're going to deal with this, but they say there will be grades for penalties, depends on the businesses. But at the moment, this is the official information of what we've got from the Information Commissioner Officer. Okay, so again, we're here to help. Any questions you've got after that, and also I will try to answer as many as possible today. I forgot to tell you about me. And my name is Ivan Yordanov, and I'm the director of company GoLive UK. At GoLive, we're committed to the online security and peace of mind of every business owner around the world. I'm really, really passionate about cybersecurity. I've been running this business for 22 years now, and I've got a pretty good team. But it wasn't always like this that way. I came here a long time ago, and I started my career in 1998. And I had to prove to this government that I will do something that is very much unique. So I'm not taking anybody else's position or place in this country. So I had to think about this, and I had to think about this. And I was thinking, and eventually, I came up with a genius idea. And the genius idea was to watch TV. And at the time, I was watching the Prime Minister, Tony Blair, who was explaining about something on the TV, that there is something that will happen. And the electricity might stop, and also the post might stop, and also the banks might stop. And it could be a total disaster, whatever might happen. But if we address this problem, this country will prosper. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? This is the Millennium Bug. So I become, a year 2000, project manager in the government, gave me a visa to save this country from the Millennium Bug. That's why we're here today. Thank you. Thank you. So this is taken over by Storm, and they started employing me by banks, by charities, by embassies, by many companies. And my business and my career in cybersecurity started, and I'm still within it. And as a result, I was invited by Bill Clinton, and we attended together with Simon this evening. It was a charity ball for companies who delivered a great value to the UK. So I'm very proud to be part of it, and thank you for this, Simon. So the company's been running now for more than 20 years. I built more than 1,500 websites. I lost the count by now. And the biggest part I'm proud of is actually this element here, because we address all the support tickets immediately on the same day. So you have a problem today. Let's say you really need to install a secure server certificate, and you just cannot do it because it just doesn't go through. You just grab the phone, we install it for you, so you can move on with your life. So we've got a beautiful help desk and design there for companies like yours. So if you need any services like website development, website design, cybersecurity, GDPR, here are my people who will help you with this. And here are some of my clients. I just accommodated a handful of them here. They could be very small, they could be very big, they could be banks, or they could be startups. I don't really work on a particular vertical. I work from a point of view of the technology. So any technological problem, any technological issue, I will address it for you. And here is a little map just showing different countries I support at the moment. This is my team. And I'm very proud of my team. My team is located in Bulgaria. That allows us slightly cheaper bills in terms of office. We've got actually a very nice office, all in marble. And so people can work there in a really nice and comfortable environment. Okay, so let's move now to the cybersecurity. Do we remember this situation with the NHS? What happened? And for some reason, they were not prepared. I'm not going to go into very much detail into this. I'll just show some real-time examples. Lloyds Bank was attacked as well. And this is TalkTalk. Do you remember on a TalkTalk situation? So they lost, they were fined $400,000 for poor website security, and they lost 157,000 customers. Now, they say if this would have happened next year, the fine won't be 400,000 because GDPR would have been in place this time next year. They would have paid excess of 5 million for the same situation that they lost their data. The other major attack is HSBC. They just stopped. It's just nonsense, isn't it? HSBC stopped for about half a day, and it was, I think, Friday, I remember this. And imagine how inconvenient is this, especially for employers. You want to pay the salaries on Friday night, and they don't get the salaries. And how you explain this to your staff? I ended this way some time ago in Bulgaria. I had to pay them cash, to all of them. But is it practical to carry cash in an instance? And this is what's happening all the time with these cyber attacks. This is about the Apple Macs. It's a misconception, not within this audience, because you're much higher in terms of technical knowledge, but there is a general misconception that Apple Macs don't catch viruses. It's not true. It's not at all. So Macs also get some kind of a malware and problems there. The other one is do you know what this is? This is a smart TV. Do you know the story behind it? There was an Indian programmer who put malware, and he was recording people in their bedrooms. And then he was selling the footage on the internet. Because you've got a laptop, we've got a smart TV. It's got a camera on it, the laptop and the TV, and this malware enables the camera while you're there without you being aware of it. And then recording this footage, it became his way of selling this information on the internet. So be careful having a smart TV, what you're doing at the front of the TV. Okay, the next one is brute force cyber attack into the parliament. What is brute force? So they try different passwords. They try this password, password 123, password 234, and they try again and again and again and again and again, and they try all sorts of different passwords. And eventually they go through. How many did they say? 90 email accounts. You think it's unreal? It is real, and it went through also into the parliament. WannaCrypt, this is the one from the NHS. And this is, generally speaking, the information from the government, how to protect ourselves and our businesses from cyber attacks. I will go through this more or less in detail. It is available on the internet. If you want to take any photos, I can give you some more information later on, but I will explain it in a minute. I went through a number of certification courses, so I've been through this, and this is the American version of it. But I've been running this business for more than 20 years, and I experienced the same and the same and the same and the same again. And what's happening is I go to the office and they say, oh my God, the computer network has stopped. What do we do now? I say, don't worry. We'll recover from the backup. And they start running within, and they say, Jason, where is the backup? And he goes, I don't know. Katie, where is the backup? I don't know. So they're running like headless chicken every time, and they cannot find the backup. And then they cannot find the policy, and nothing really happens. So what is the point having a backup if you cannot restore from the backup? So I've been through all of this theory, and I know that in real life, the companies, they don't really go through it. They just don't go through it. I was thinking, what is the point having all this theory if it's not practical? So I came up with a different idea. And this is the Cyber Guardian. And what the Cyber Guardian does, it does everything upside down. And you've got a little brochure there for the Cyber Guardian. What the Cyber Guardian does, it starts with the recovery in mind. So we must be certain that we can recover. There's no point doing backup. There's no point doing policies. There's no point doing procedures. There's no point doing any sort of arrangements if you cannot recover. Because whatever happens at some point, you might get attacked. And that's why my advice to you is, the first step you do, make sure you can recover whatever happens, and don't assume that nothing will happen. So the next step is to protect, and the next one is the respond. And I will go quickly through them. So the first message, and probably the most important message today, I want to tell you that there is not 100% security. If you don't remember anything today what I've said, just please remember this. There is not 100% security, whatever we do. So the question is, if it's not 100% security, how do we protect ourselves? And I'm just about to explain. Do you have antivirus on your computers? Do you have antivirus on your servers? Do you have antivirus on your web servers? So think about this. It's not best practice to install antivirus on a web server, by the way. You go and check it on a regular basis. But for the user computers, it is best practice, and you must have one of them. They are widely popular, so I'm not going to speak to explain to any of them. Firewall. Everybody must have a firewall. And how many of you changed the default password on your firewall? 4 of us. You might want to make a note. Go home, have a cup of tea, and change password on my firewall. Don't use default passwords for your firewalls, because the brute force attack will go through it immediately, easily. By the way, does everybody know what is a firewall? The firewall is a device that connects your local computer network to the internet and protects you from the attacks from outside. It's got ports, and these ports must be closed. A typical one is you get in the office, let's say, CCTV people. They install cameras somewhere there for you. And during this process, they have to open some of the ports. And they rush it, and they forget to close the ports. You don't know. I've seen this so many times. And they go there, and they open a couple of dozen of ports. Why do you need a couple of dozen of ports to open for this CCTV? Sometimes they walk in there, and they disable the firewall to get their job done. So be careful and double check if your firewall is functioning properly as it should be. So this is the first step to prayer. So the second step is how to respond. It is critical to every one of us to have a company to contact whenever the cyber security incident happens. And I can advise you, this company, to be mine, because this is what I do for a living. I've got a help desk, and you can grab the phone and say, oh my God, Ivan, something happened here, and all of my computers are blocked. And I've seen this several times with a number of people. You just cannot do anything. It's just blocked, it's just stuck, or it's just complete nonsense there. So another point I might ask you to write, have a contractual arrangement with the IT support company specializing in cybersecurity, so you can contact them. Don't do it by accident, because these people, they must have knowledge about your computer network. They must know about your IP addresses. They must know about your passwords. They must be able to log on to the server, because when happens this cyber attack, it's extremely inconvenient time. And everybody is running and says, what do we do now? So have the contract in advance, so you know who you're contacting, and you know that they will come to you and they will help you based on this contract as quickly as possible. Do you know what this is? Usually men raise the hands. So what this is called the Police Central E-Crime Unit. I'll tell you a little story about this, what I did. I had this for a client, and their computers got stuck there. And I went there and cleaned the computers, and everybody happy. So I'm walking out, and one of the staff says, oh, by the way, how did it come to my computer? And I say, I'll tell you about, if you were a 16-year-old teenager and work in the middle of the night of his back bedroom, I can tell you how did it come. Because they come from adult websites, these ones. But you're a criminal solicitor in the middle of the city. I've got no idea how did it happen. And she goes, I know. I was working on a case of an escort, woman escort. So I was following her from website to website, and at some point, everything stopped. That wasn't bad enough. It stopped her computer, but it stopped a couple of computers also on the network that managed to go through the computer network. So You might be in the middle of completely legitimate working, and you might be hit by some of these cybercrime people. Has anyone seen this? Have you received this email? No? Okay. This is called phishing. This is called phishing. So what's happening, you receive an email that looks that is from British Airways, but in fact it is not from British Airways. It is from somebody else, and it could be from a bank. It could be from any other legitimate source. So you have to be very careful for phishing, because if you click on this, they get your details, they get your passwords, and then you've got a problem. They've got all of your details there. This happened about this time last year. County Council hit by £1 million malware demand. So what they did, they got the malware, which I'll explain what it is, into the council, and they said, unless you don't pay £1 million, we will not unlock your computers. So what they did, they actually entered negotiation with the criminals. So when they said, listen, we're council, we don't have £1 million, so let's do something. So they did a bit of a negotiation, so they settled on $300. So at least something. This is what it says in this there. So the third step I want to highlight to you, this is the recovery. And you have to start with this recovery. And this will give you a good night's sleep, because you can recover for certain. I think we agree that there is not 100% security. So if it's not 100% security, you must have 100% recovery. And this is what the Cyber Guardian does, because the Cyber Guardian has a triple level of redundancy and triple level of backup. So whatever happens with your data, I know I can recover your data or the data for your clients. And I will advise you to do exactly the same as well. If you need any help by any means, I'll be here to help you with the backup and the recovery. Don't assume that if you have a backup, you can recover. You must have test recovery on a regular basis. I cannot stress this enough. What we usually do when we do the backup, during the maintenance, monthly maintenance cycle, we go there and we do test recovery of some of the data to make sure. This is good, so you prove that the backup worked. And this is also good that you train your staff how to recover, because when you need it, they say, how do you recover? We don't know. I had similar case 2 weeks ago. Went to see a client and went through the bullet points, and I said, do you have a backup? And he says, yes. So I say, show me the backup, and it's over there. It's a hard drive in the corner. Okay, let's see how does it work. So we logged on there to the backup, and we found that it's not really backing up. And I say, so it's not backing up. And I say, it's not backing up. But you told me you had a backup. So he had the box, but it wasn't doing any work, this box. So just buying the box and keep it in the box is not good backup. You must configure it, and you must test it that it's really working. I'm highlighting this so many times because I've seen this in big organizations, in small organizations, all throughout. So this is the way I explain what is the Cyber Guardian, and you've got it there in your hands. Let me tell you a little bit about social engineering. Do you know what is social engineering? One person here. Companies are hit by cybercrime 65% from inside. I will repeat this. Companies are hit by cybercrime 65% from inside. All of us were trying to protect ourselves with antiviruses and firewalls and everything from the attacks from the outside. But the real crime is actually happening from within inside. So if you have stuff, you have to be really, really vigilant, and you have to take steps towards it. And one of the steps, I lecture particularly to the staff on social engineering. And what the social engineering is, this is cyber attacks within the business. A typical one, you can read it everywhere. It's a cleaner. Everybody's gone home. and the cleaner goes and cleans, and then gets a little dongle, stick it on the back of a keyboard, and this dongle, whatever you do there as of today, it sends everything to the crime people, and there is no change. How often do you get under the desk to check if your keyboard is connected and there is no dongle? Typical one. Another one, CCTV. I went to my office the other day. I can see two people walking in, walking out. CCTV, they're changing the cameras, upgrading something there. Who are these people? Usually, people with the CCTV, they work out of office hours. These people go and steal data. They could be sent there on purpose. And this is happening all the time. I can go on and on and on, but I just put a single slide here for you to be aware that this is the social engineering. People pretend they work for you, and they actually don't. They're there for cyber activities. Another one, typical one, it was published on the internet. A girl goes to the reception and goes, "I'm really sorry, I'm late today, and I couldn't print my CV, and I'm just about to go to an interview. May I ask you to print it for me, please?" And the receptionist goes, "Sure." Gets the memory card, plugs it in, boom, the company is already under surveillance. All the time. So be very, very careful about social engineering within your business. How does it work? Very quickly, it is, first of all, they do research on the company, then select the victim, then develop the relationship, and then the attack is really properly planned attack. So I've shown this earlier on, and there is a story behind because it is based on social engineering. Do you know how this happened here, or you don't know? No? So what happened was a woman receives a phone call, and she says, "Are you so-and-so?" Let's say Kate Smith. She says, "Yes." "Okay, so you raised an IT ticket for your computer wasn't right. So we want you to apologize for this." And she goes, "Well, it's all good now. It's all working." But they say, "Now, according to our records, can I just do some security? So is this your address? Is this your email?" She goes, yes, everything is here." Good. So they say, "So you're allowed to receive £300 money back because of the trouble. So from us to apologize, from TalkTalk." And she goes, "Oh, well, that's very nice of you. And how do you do that?" And he goes, "Well, I will send you a hyperlink. And what you do, you register there, and we'll give you the money back." And she goes, "Okay." And he goes, "But before that, you will need to register here." So he sends the link. And it looks like a TalkTalk website, but it's not actually a TalkTalk website. It is a different website. And she registers there. And then he says, "I'm sending you the money now, but need to forward them to another email." So she gets from her bank account, transfer the money to that particular bank account, and they get the money from her, and this money goes somewhere in Hong Kong. And through this information, also they managed to get to her computer, and from there they managed to steal lots of data from there. So these people, this is internal attack. These people, they used to work for TalkTalk. And then also they managed to get money out of this. And you think it's surreal, it's not, because this is what happened this time last year. Okay, so one of the best protections you could have, and one of the most popular questions I get, this is on secure servers. How many of you have SSL on your website? So I want to raise the question to everybody else. Please watch carefully, and this is job number 1 for tomorrow. What is the SSL? The SSL stands for Secure Socket Layer. We want to protect the information that we send. Imagine the information is sent via a pipe. And the hacker puts a little appliance in the middle, and this data also goes to him. And this is possible, it is doable, it's not a big deal at all. So the question is, how do we stop him? The answer is none. You cannot stop them because it goes through the internet. So what can we do? We can encrypt the information so it's not readable. And the way we encrypt the information is through this SSL. And because many of you, they have the SSL, I'm glad to see this because I was doing this lecture here for Simon about 18 months ago. There were only 3 or 4 people in the room that had SSL. Now we've got about 80% of the people that have got SSL. But now I've got the next question up. There are different kinds of SSL. Which one do you want to choose for your business? There are anything from $10 to $200. Do you want to go somewhere at the beginning, middle, or end? Which one do you want to get? Why do they come in flavors? And you might have noticed that on the top of the address bar, some of them are showing the name of the company. Some of them are just showing just HTTPS, and this one's got an error. So first of all, why do we want to have a secure server certificate on our website? Any ideas? Good, give security to the clients. Any other ideas? It's actually very good for reputation. More and more people, they know about this, and more people, they trust us as a business if you have a secure server certificate on your website. I personally never buy anything at all from a website that hasn't got an SSL. No way. Especially you, whoever runs e-commerce websites, you must have it. This is the law. You must have it for the e-commerce websites. But also, if you're running just a normal website, for reputation point of view, this will take you ahead of the clients. Another reason is Google. Google loves SSL. Google considers that if you have an SSL for your website, it will push it further, and if you don't have it, it will push it down. So having an SSL is not a big deal. It's not very expensive, and it's a single kind of easy win you can have for your website. And I will give you, this is just a snapshot I've taken yesterday just to give you some flavors here. So you've got one for $9, one for $45, one for $90, and one for $165. So the first one gives you just a single padlock. And for a simple website, this is what you might want to do. The next one, it gives you the company name and the organization validation. So it checks you as an organization. And this is why people want you to have this SSL, because you are checked in a way and you kind of trust it already. The other one is the wildcard certificate. So you can have certificate for number of websites. How many of you run multiple websites? Most of us. Yeah. So you can have one certificate for multiple websites, and this one is the most expensive. What it does, it is the most expensive because actually solicitors will contact you and they will establish the fact that you are this company, and they will do this research on you, and that's why they give you this the most expensive certificate. But all of these certificates, they encrypt the information so the attacker cannot read it. So here is a very good way of protecting yourself and your business. Do you know what is Cloudflare? No? I will explain to you. Imagine you have a website on a single server. and it is attacked, and the website goes down. And it's not good news, isn't it? Because you stop. So you cannot function, you cannot sell. It's a problem. Well, what Cloudflare does, they replicate your website in 173 servers around the world, which is nice. One goes down, the other one carries on. So they have to attack all of them. Also, the other advantage is that if you have international clients, the local people, they access the local server. Physically, the information travels shorter, and the access to the website is faster. And you'll be talking about search engine optimization this afternoon, and they will tell you that one of the criterias, there are 220 ranking factors for Google, and one of the criterias for this is how fast is the access to your website. Now, this service could be free. This service could be chargeable. I run it for a number of my clients. It runs beautifully. And it is money well spent, or just run it for free, Cloudflare. The other big advantage for Cloudflare is that it protects you against DDoS attack. Do you remember at the beginning we were talking about these massive attacks coming there? It protects you from this kind of massive attacks, which is a DDoS attack. So it's a very, very nice service, and my advice will be to use it. So this kind of concludes the Cyber Guardian explanation, and I will move on to the next one. So what the Cyber Guardian includes, you've got the brochures at the front of you, but this is effectively secure hosting within the UK on UK servers and gives you unlimited web space and traffic. But the most importantly, you can recover for certain. We recover the data for you for certain. And effectively, at the end of the day, you as directors gives you peace of mind, gives you a good night's sleep. And it comes in two flavors, but I'm not going to speak about this too much today. Okay, so we've got here practical cyber security. And I will ask my beautiful assistants to give you these handouts. You don't have to take a photo because they will give you a handout. I want to give you some value today. So you will have this practical cybersecurity here. So I will go through these ones because they're important for yourselves and also they're important for your staff. This information should really go to your staff because, as we agreed, 65% of the attacks happen from within. People just click on the email, and the computer network is stopped. So let's go very quickly through this. So we agreed don't rely on 100% security. We all agree on this. Open emails and attachment extremely carefully, and this is for you and for your staff. Don't use anybody else's device for shopping or remote access. Be extremely careful with USB devices. If you can, just avoid them all throughout. Keep your computer's website and web servers updated regularly. And use complex password. Use a password manager. Now we'll get here in a debate. Let's divide it by 2. Who uses a password manager? Okay, who doesn't know what is a password manager? Who hates password manager? Okay, I will give you general guidance. I'll give you general guidance, and the general guidance comes from the government. The government says, use password manager. The government says, use password manager. The password manager is a centralized place where you keep securely all of your passwords. And at the moment, they are secured. But we don't know when they will be hacked. What is good for the password manager is that actually it goes and checks your passwords against well-known passwords. And if your password, for any reason, is kind of became known somewhere in the cyberspace, it is naturally they will suggest to you to go and change it, which is very nice, because they've got all these millions and millions of passwords. So my advice is use a password manager, and also when you develop websites, you've been in this situation when you log on to your FTP server, and then you log on as a user, and then you test a particular form, and you put your name and password and the postal address and all this stuff, and it goes on and on. It's very slow. Now, with a password manager, by a single click, it populates all these fields. So it will also help you to develop your website faster and to develop your business faster, to be more efficient. Again, the government suggests use password managers, but some of us, we hate password managers. The next one is always send usernames and password via 2 different media paths. Who does this? 2 of us. Okay. You work with your website developer. And the website developer say, send me the username and password for your FTP server. Or send me the username and password for WordPress. And you say, yeah, here is the username, here is the password. Boom. Wrong. Because it goes unencrypted. It's got no SSL on it, isn't it? It's just an email. So what you want to do, say, dear Mr. Beloved web developer, here is my username, and I will text you my password. Or I will Skype my password. Or I will Viber my password. I will come to your house tonight and have a drink, and I will give you my password. Never, ever send the username and the password together. Because to you, it just goes, but all this information is kept on some other servers. We call them hops. We call them hops. You can trace where this information goes to from server to server through these hops. Again, this is for you, but most importantly, it's for your staff. So you might want to get them all together, do this for them, or you want to invite me and I'll do this for you. The next one is a report immediately should you consider you're under cyber attack. That's where you need this contract. The local engineers, they should know. They walk in, they know what they're doing, they're familiar with computers, with servers, with web servers, and you're all prepared. Watch out for signs, change password, IP address warning, phishing emails. I had this several times. I come in the morning and I start my computer and it restarted. I don't restart my computer. Why did it restart? Could it be somebody's been there? Is it just Windows updates? Watch out, it's just abnormal behavior. Don't download executables, plugins, or torrents for computers and smartphones. You're very technically savvy people here. You're a businessman. You know about this. But your staff might do something in the middle of the day on your computer network. I had ransomware there. Are you familiar with ransomware? Do you know what is ransomware? Yeah, most of you. What it is, it's a malware. It's a piece of software that gets inside the computer network, and it blocks it, and it says you pay whatever, and then we will give you the unlock code. The only certain way today to recover from ransomware is backup. There is no other way. And the advice is never pay them, because they might give you the code, they might not give you the code. And even if they give you the code, they will plant another one, and in 3 months, you get another one. And they go on and on and on and on. And especially if you're Bitcoin rich, it doesn't come very cheap to deal with this. Beware of social engineering. I think we cleared this already. Watch who is coming and who is doing whatever in the office. And prefer HTTPS for, press the wrong button. Prefer HTTPS for websites. And protect home computers if you use remote access to the office. They're outside the office, but make sure the home computers are also protected. And always back up and test restore your data. So I believe these are kind of practical points. They don't cover the entire cybersecurity, but if you do this, your business you will be in a pretty good shape. Okay, so now we've got the 23 steps for GDPR compliance. Now we're getting heavy here. Get ready. Okay. Right. So this is the government instructions. Earlier on, I went through this in a different format. So I'm not going to go through the same 12 points. I'll just give you some practical steps and practical advice. Feel free to take photos, and feel free to speak to me about this after that. Demonstrate clearly that you built awareness for your staff. So we have to lecture to them. And this subject is extremely interesting. And you really have to prepare them because they have to know what is this all about. So that's why I go from company to company and I lecture. The lecture, as I said, is particularly designed for the staff. Don't tell them everything. I give them the practical tips. What do they have to do about the cybersecurity and how to protect the data within the business. So the first one is familiar your staff with the data. You have to know, and they have to know, what data is what. What is personal data, what is company data, and it has to be selected. And it's easier said than done. And all this should be and must be registered as a protocol there. Let me give you a little bit of an example. So it's a simple form. You've got name, address, email address, password, and confirm password, for example. Now, you have to give them the option to keep the data and not to keep the data. How many of you have got this option on your websites? Oops. Just to make it clear again, they must have the option to choose you keep the data on your servers or you don't keep the data on your servers. So your forms have to be adapted to the GDPR. And what they say also, they must be able, the user must be able to use the website and the information without stopping them having particular functionalities. And we'll talk in a minute here about cookies. Because do we have any website developers here, professional ones? Not today. Okay, so it's a bit of engineering to run a WordPress website with no cookies. In fact, you cannot run it without cookies. So what do we do now? Do we run it with cookies or do we run it without cookies? And I'll come to this in a minute. Is the unregistered option. So this is the right to be removed. If anybody approaches you and they say, I want to be removed from your database, you must do it very, very quickly. They don't say immediate, they don't say how long, but it is considered to be literally within a day. And again, you must have a policy for this, and your company and your staff must comply with this policy. The right to be forgotten. All forms should have a checkbox that allows the user to subscribe. Have you been to a website where you get a number of checkboxes and they're checked in advance? You've been. This is a no-no. There must not be any forms ticked in advance, and you must get explicit consent. So let's go quickly. I agree with the terms and conditions, and they must tick this. I agree my personal information to be used, they must tick this, and I agree my data to be sent to other parties. Let me spell this a bit. And this is wrong. I agree with the terms and conditions, so they mustn't be unticked in advance. Update privacy policy. Ask PD when ask data owner to be deleted. So your privacy policy must be up to date. Where do you get an up-to-date privacy policy for GDPR? Are they widely available out there? The answer is yes. The Information Commissioner Officer, they produce a set of documents, and it costs £600. And anybody can buy these documents. And this way, you can get your business to be compliant with the GDPR. There is an alternative. To speak to me, and I'll talk to you about this in a minute. I can go on and on and on here, but it is quite detailed information. So choose a suitable cookie policy and comply with GDPR. Everybody's got this message about the cookies. Is this cookie policy you've got at the moment, is it compliant with GDPR or not? We don't know. So how do we choose one? Again, there are available documents, templates, or you can use a consultant to help you to get the right policy. So from GDPR point of view, they say that the client should have the freedom to be able to browse the website if he wishes to choose to use the cookies or if not. I'll give you an example. At the moment, it says, this website uses cookies, click here, OK. Now, what it should say, this website uses cookies. If you want to use the cookies, click here. And if you want not to use the cookies, but still browse the website, click here. But at the moment, for many websites, it's technically impossible, especially WordPress, to run it with no cookies. It's practically is impossible. That's why you have to have the right policy, which explains actually what's happening with the data. And when they choose it, you have to explain to them that you are not collecting their data. They're different cookies. Some of the cookies, they deal with the data. Some of the cookies, they just deal with the code. So as long as you don't collect data through the cookies, you will be OK. Again, you really need to research a proper template, which is designed by a solicitor, that will be GDPR compliant. It's very, very unlikely that your current terms and conditions and your current privacy policy is GDPR compliant. It's very unlikely. Passwords. The password must have an expiration date. Now, this is not a requirement from GDPR. This is not a requirement from GDPR. But it's good practice. And this is the password on our websites, and also this is good on your computer. It's very boring to change the password every 90 days. All we know about this. But again, this is considered to be best practice. And if you decided this to be the practice for your business, it must be registered in your policies. The next one, passwords must have a ban list like this. There are a number of very, very popular passwords, and you should stop using them and have a ban on obvious passwords throughout the entire organization. Again, this is best practices, but this is not requirement from the GDPR. Now, what the GDPR has is an element where they say, so you've taken the necessary steps towards it. But this is not get out of jail card. In the past, number of legislations, you can demonstrate that you've done you've done enough steps towards it, and then they cannot say anything about it. The problem here is that you might do lots of steps towards it, and it still not be compliant. And on the top of this, as soon as there is any data stolen from you, you have to report it and you get a fine. So we're in a kind of a no-win situation here. I was talking to a very high position person at the Information Commission officers a couple of months ago, and I said to her, there is a rumor. There is a rumor. Can you confirm the rumor or not? She says, what is the rumor? So I say, well, the rumor is that as everybody registers their penetration, there will be a very big list of companies listed there who have been attacked, isn't it? And as long as this is a public register, you will provide this information to the rest of the world. Yeah? Because what is the logic here? Now, when we run business, what we do, if we want to work with a new client, I go to my accounts department and I say, do for me Dun & Bradstreet. They do credit check and they say, here is the credit limit for this new client, and you go ahead with this. So I decide if I wanna work with these people, supplier or client, based on the credit score. Now there will be another score, which is cybersecurity score. So if you go to this list and you see that this particular supplier, he had cybersecurity breaches, 7 cybersecurity breaches this year, do you really want to work with him? So I ask this person and I say, this is the rumor. Is this what is going to happen? And she says, I don't know about this rumor. But it is very much logical to me. If this public register holds all this information, why not they allow other people to see it, and you don't want to really be there? And I still don't know what will happen if you report that your data has been stolen or affected in any way. Are they going immediately to send a fine, or are they give you kind of a credit period or something? We don't know this yet. But whatever we do, we must secure our websites and we must secure our data. Parental controls. So talking about the children, so the websites, they should care about the use of children, and also the policies should be included there. I spoke about this earlier on. And the third parties. So many of us, we work with third parties. So this is now the next job. Now we go to all of our suppliers and say, are you GDPR compliant? And if not, you say, I've got Ivan, he will make you GDPR compliant. Because it's also your responsibility. So what they've done effectively here, the government, they turn the tables. Because at the moment, should anything happen, they have to catch the cyber crime people, whoever's done the crime. It's very difficult to catch these criminals out there. So they turn the tables and say, we're not going to catch the criminals, we'll catch you as a business, and you're going to catch them, and it's your problem because you haven't protected yourselves. So you go and speak to your suppliers and speak to your clients, and you really have to top up your contracts. You have to do an appendix onto your contracts, which could be a bit of a job. Review email databases. This is a big one. I can do another 2-hour lecture on the emails. So I'll speak to Simon. We might do another day only on email, Simon, because everybody virtually is using email. So we can go on and on and on about the email, but the key you want to know is the explicit consent. So whoever gets on your database, you must have an explicit consent. What the Americans do, they do double opt-in. How many of you have double opt-in on your website? You've got a couple of people. So double opt-in is not required by the GDPR. It's not required, but it's still a good practice. What double opt-in does, for those who don't know, if you, let's say I want to download a white paper on cybersecurity, and I go to your website and I give my email and the name and details, and then you send me an email and say, click here to verify yourself, and then you download the white paper. So this is double opt-in. Now, this is good on one hand because it's kind of a more secure. You confirm who this person is. But statistically, it reduces the number of new clients you might have because they have to do 2 steps. But on the other hand, from business point of view, gives you only the committed ones. So you effectively filter the time wasters. So it's not a bad idea to do double opt-in. And Simon might tell you more about this because he's got lots of these websites with double opt-ins. It's just good practice, but it's not requirement from GDPR to have a double opt-in. So consider a protection officer or virtual data protection officer. For companies for more than 50 people, must have a designated person who's dealing with this. For companies for less than 50 people, it's good practice to have one anyway. He doesn't need to be a full-time employee. He could be a virtual officer. So it's a person from a third-party company. I work with similar companies. So they know all the legislation, and should anything happen within the business, it is reported to that person, and that person communicates everything with the Information Commissioner Officer. And update your privacy. So you choose who's got access to the data, and this might also need it to be added something into the employment contracts. Who is doing what with the data? And the encryption. Now, I promised to you I'll give you a tip, which is the get out of jail card. Didn't I? And this is the get out of the jail card. Because if you encrypt the data, you don't have to report it. Imagine you have a memory stick with encrypted data, and you lose it at the airport. You must report it to the Information Commissioner Officer, and you get in a blacklist. But if the data on a memory stick is encrypted, you don't have to report it. So nobody knows you lost it. And memory sticks do get lost, and lots of stuff gets lost all the time. I work actually, one of my clients is called Backport. They collect all the lost items around the airport and also inside the airplanes. And you walk in their store, and it's Aladdin's cave. It's got everything inside. So people lose lots of stuff. So this is get out of the jail card. If you encrypt your data, you don't have to report it if it's stolen. So earlier on, we talked about the SSL, which encrypts the data. Yeah, we spoke about this. But SSL encrypts the data when it's in transit, when it's in this pipe. So what happens with the data when it's stationary? What happens with the data when it's inside your database? WordPress has a database, and we keep lots of data, customer data. We don't keep credit cards, but we keep lots of other information there. Shipping addresses and complaint forms and return slips or whatever we want to keep inside this database of the website. Is it protected? No, unless you encrypt it. There are easy ways of doing this and encrypting the data. If you need any help, speak to me by any means, and I can do this for you. You can encrypt your data. And also, this is the get out of the jail card. If for any reason your website is hacked and they steal this data, first of all, it's not good to them, not good to the hacker, but you don't have to report it to the Information Commission officer because the data is encrypted. So I hope only this little tip will give you a peace of mind and good sleep tonight. And this is a two-factor authentication. We discussed this. We might expand on this if we do another GDPR on the emails. And this is the right to be forgotten. Already spoke about this. And create a password policy. If you want, you can take just a screenshot or photo from here. Okay, so this is another practical slide. This is from my programmers. And this is Microsoft user must have permissions only to his or her folder. Just take this as a slide and give it to your programmers and say, I want this to happen. And they'll do it. This is only from Microsoft sites. This is for increased security. Got a couple of more of these. I'm getting very deep inside, very technical, but I really want to give you value. So you've got really open ahead. The users must have permission only to their database. Again, technical tip. This is not part of the GDPR requirement, but this is best practices. And this is my offer today. So the offer today is that I can help you with the GDPR, and this will happen the middle of January, and my beautiful assistants will help me with this. So I can do an assessment for your websites if they're GDPR compliant, and I can give you this assessment, and this will be my contribution to you. Then the next package is the self-certification. So what it is, based on the first assessment, I will give you recommendations how to protect your website and what to do in practical terms for you. And then I will give you a pack with templates where you can self-certify. And you complete the templates inside, and this way you can certify yourself. Normally, it's a long and boring process, and if you don't want to go through the long and boring process, you want to employ consultants like us, and this is option number 3. And option number 3 is GDPR compliance check. So we will do the entire GDPR for you, together with the consultants, and this is for the entire company, not just for the website. And my advice is, please register on these forms. Give the forms back to me, so I can contact you, and we keep in a close communication. So when you want this to be done, we can contact and we can get it arranged for you. I'll be doing this as of middle of January, and I'll be very happy to help you. Thank you.